Hello and welcome to my channel. It's Monica from Crafting with Quilling Lady. Today I have 3 mandala cards for you, so if you are interested in those cards, I'm going to show you how to make them. So I use one stamp set and cutting die from Crafter's Companion. It was in one of the magazines. I created 5 panels measuring 11.5 by 16.5 centimeters, and I used my stamping platform and Versamark to stamp all mandalas. When they were ready, I used Cosmic Shimmer Fine Embossing Powder in white. Remember, when you heat emboss, make sure your heat gun is really hot before you put it on a card. So because of the stamping platform, all my mandalas are exactly in the same place. To color them in, I use Aqua Pens by Spectrum Noir. All the colors are listed below. And using those pens, it's so much fun because the effect is absolutely amazing. It looks like stained glass window when it's done, and because you heat emboss with white powder, you don't really go over the line. It makes it so easy to color it in. Even if you make a mistake, don't worry, you can always use wet paintbrush to lift the color off and a little bit of tissue or a cloth. So don't worry, there is always a way. So actually, I created 5 of those mandalas, and by the magic of recording, you don't really have to watch me coloring in every single mandala. When I finish coloring them in, I die cut them, and you've got layer die here. So actually, we created 2 cards for the price of 1. I used 3D embossing folder by Crafter's Companion and Distress Oxide to add the color to the front panel. Then I used double-sided tape on every single panel and put the card together. The card was mounted on a gold cardstock and then to the card base. I also used the stamps for the sentiment and Distress Oxide to add just a little bit of color, and I fussy cut the sentiment. It is super easy if you turn it over to make the straight lines. To adhere it, I use liquid glue, and the card was ready. I also put some gold gems in the corners and 1 purple gem in the middle of mandala, which I think makes it super special. As you can see, I put it here on the card base and it's ready to go. Then our leftover mandala, I use double-sided foam to give extra dimension. And I use the same 3D embossing folder by Crafter's Companion and my favorite purple and blue Distress Oxides to give it a little bit of color. And then I have to decide where exactly my mandala should be. At the top, in the middle? When I was ready with the placement, I put the sentiment and added a few gold gems. Now let's have a look. Look at the dimension. It's so amazing. And for our last card, I use gold embossing powder to heat emboss the mandalas and Brusho Crystals watercolor to give it super special effect. I use 2 green colors, few of the blues and 1 purple and violet. When you use Brusho, be careful because you're going to have really messy table. So use water to clean your surface straight away. You don't really need much Brusho, just a little bit, sprinkle it, just tiny bit, because it really goes a long way. and it only works with water. So I use spray bottle and I sprayed it from far away to give it extra effect. And the color is absolutely amazing. What's really special about brushes, so inside the jar you've got a mixture of different colors, and they only mix together on the card when you add water, and the effects are so amazing. So I created a couple of green and blue mandalas, and they will go in the corners of the card. And for the main mandala I use blue, purple and violet. You've got two options here. You can either leave it to dry, or you can use your heat tool to make the paint dry quickly. And you really have to clean your surface straight away. And trust me, you will have colored fingers, but that's okay. We are crafters, we know how it is. You can also move the color with wet paintbrush if you want, and you can use a tissue to lift some of the color up. The gold embossing powder makes it super easy for the color to stay within the lines. And when I was ready, I die cut all my mandalas. And now I'm going to create my front panel. So this time I'm going to sprinkle the paint first. I use purple, violet and turquoise for the main colors. Trust me, that was even far too much paint here. And I'm going to use spray bottle to add the color, which means just add the water. I actually used two different spray bottles here, one the regular one and one I had for my sun lotion. It was empty and it was perfect to use for spraying some water. Oh, that's the one. So as before, you have two options. You can either use it to dry, or you can use your heat tool to make it dry. I use Versamark and gold embossing powder to add the sentiment on vellum, and I use double-sided tape to put it together. For the mandalas in the corner, I'm going to use liquid glue, which I think works really well. As you can see, I was trying where to put my mandalas. And actually, we have some leftovers, so we can use them in other projects as well. For the purple mandala, I'm going to put it in the middle using double-sided foam parts, and that way the main mandala will stand out and will make it super nice to see. Here I try to cover some of the place I didn't really like on my card. I thought it was far too much paint. And when this card is ready, we're going to mount a layer on gold cardstock. And the effect and sparkle here is absolutely amazing. Just have a look, it's so beautiful. I also added a few gold gems, and that's it. I hope you like my cards. So what I want you to do is explore, create and share. If you have any mandala cards, put them in the comments.